So anybody remember the song Living on the Eve of Destruction? In the 60s, 70s and 80s, the world was gripped with fear of nuclear war. There were films made about it. There was a massive campaign called the Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament that was probably quite left-leaning back in the day. And strangely enough, I supported CND. I didn't like some of their rhetoric because they did seem to be very, very left-wing, but I certainly supported the idea of getting rid of nuclear weapons. The problem was that there was an idea of getting rid of them unilaterally and not multilaterally. Obviously, the only way you can get rid of nuclear weapons is if there's a coming together of governments. I'm hoping that we get through this crisis, because if we don't, this video kind of becomes irrelevant anyway. But I'm hoping that cool heads somewhere prevail, because I believe there's a lot of psychopathic men with very, very itchy trigger fingers all over the world, including Putin, including our crazed Prime Minister Starmer the Harmer, who allegedly is talking about sending British troops along with the French Napoleon Bonaparte impersonator Macron, sending French troops and British troops to Ukraine. Really? So you're going to send our boys to die in Ukraine when you can't even secure the borders in your own country? Get your priorities right, Harmer. Anyway, Keir Harmer will do what he will. Macron will do what he will, and Putin will do what he will. But if we get out of this, which I hope we do, we need to seriously look at nuclear disarmament, multinational, multilateral nuclear disarmament. And I know Trump is very, very passionate about getting rid of nuclear weapons. He knows how evil they are. He knows how dangerous they are. But some of the rhetoric coming out of Russia and coming out of NATO is frightening. People talking about preemptive strikes. Putin talking about his hypersonic missiles and testing them over Ukraine just to show what they can do. Somebody with a cool head needs to de-escalate. I was watching General Flynn, the American general that was prosecuted in the early days of the Trump presidency. I think it was the early days, for chatting to Russia, and he was talking about this morning. He was de-escalating. He was trying to stop what was happening in Russia spreading and becoming a full-on war with the West. We all know the geopolitics of it. We all know that the West has expanded massively since the end of the Cold War and is rubbing right up against Russia's borders. Now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is up for you to decide. I personally think it's a very stupid idea to poke a bear with a stick when you don't have a shotgun to shoot the bear. And the reality is nobody has a shotgun to shoot the bear, because the bear has thousands of nuclear weapons that are now pointed in our direction because of the way we've behaved over Ukraine. So what's the solution? Well, the solution is we need to pray, and we need to hope that we get through the next few weeks and months without some disastrous accident that could lead to millions upon millions of deaths. If Starmer sends British troops to Ukraine to put boots on the ground, it is the most irresponsible act, and in a very, very real way, it could be classed as a conspiracy to commit a crime against humanity. Because if Putin takes that seriously, imagine if Putin launches a tactical nuclear weapon at British soldiers in Ukraine. What does Britain do then? What does Britain do? So Britain's put our soldiers in a non-NATO country to do what? Who are they fighting against? It's insane. It's absolutely insane. The doctrines of war have been completely ripped up and thrown in the bin, and it's very, very dangerous. So to me, Putin needs to de-escalate. He needs to stand down and give his head a wobble. So do the Western leaders. And poor old Joe doesn't know where he is. I think he's still wandering around in Amazonian rainforest. But we've got to de-escalate, and we've got to hope and pray that Trump gets in, brings some moderation, brings some calmness, and does a deal between Ukraine and Russia. Because, being brutally honest with you, I don't want my family, my parents, my children, my grandchildren, and all of their children to come to be wiped out because of a psychopathic dictator to the east, and because of megalomaniacs in the West who love war more than love peace. We love peace. We need to pray for peace. And we need to hold these politicians to account. But in all seriousness, the most important thing we can do at the minute is pray and seek God's face for peace and for tranquility throughout the world. See you all soon.